Alrighty, so we got some good news out of Pakistan. I've only discussed Pakistan briefly over the last couple of days because there's been a lot going on here in the U.S. But as I said the day after it happened, whenever the first opportunity I had to record something, Imran Khan, ex-prime minister of Pakistan, who was taken out by a vote of no confidence that was seemed to me to be backed by Western intelligence and military establishments. He's been out of office for a few months now, and he was this week arrested in the most dramatic display that I've ever seen. They sent soldiers to bust down the door of a courthouse where they beat Imran Khan and his lawyers and hauled off Imran Khan, threw him in the back of a paddy wagon, and sped away, locked him in jail. And this led to a massive uprising in Pakistan. It seems that the Pakistani military, which of course very, very closely aligned with the United States, the Pentagon, they are the ones who arrested Imran Khan with seemingly no charge. From what we have heard, there's no charges against him. There's no warrant for his arrest. He was just, I guess, to be disappeared. And after which there was massive protests, riots, all sorts of unrest, a full-on revolution in the streets of Pakistan and all their major cities. Videos from Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore. Oh, by the way, breaking news right this second just came across my phone. Apparently Elon Musk stepping down as CEO of Twitter. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I might get to that tomorrow if there's anything significant about it, but just wanted to say that. Just came across my desk, but I've had no time to research that. So back to Pakistan. Unrest in Pakistan, very bad, not a good idea, especially when it looks like it was provoked by our own U.S. Defense establishment, the people who are supposed to protect our security, because Pakistan is a nuclear-armed state. You want them to be docile, you want them to be stable, you want them to be led by a responsible government. You don't want a government in Pakistan that goes around arresting its political enemies and locking them in prison, disappearing them. It was not just Imran Khan who's been arrested. I believe it's also senior members of his political party, and I believe the PTI is the single most popular political party. It's a parliamentary system, so I think there's a coalition of other parties that put together are bigger than the PTI, but I believe PTI is individually the largest party in Pakistan. The current government, which at the time, now I'm not a Pakistani political expert, so I don't want to pass too much judgment, but at the time, what it appeared to me, as someone who observes global politics, seemed to me like a deep state coup when they took out Imran Khan. And so he's been campaigning politically to try and get back into office, to try and become the prime minister yet again, and gain more seats for his party in parliament. And my guess is that they went after him and tried to get rid of him by force because he was too effective, because he most likely in the next election, whenever that comes, I didn't check when the next Pakistani parliamentary elections are, or maybe they're even worried about local elections too. He probably is going to do quite well if they're this afraid to go after him. It's the old saying, if you're taking flack, you're over the target. And nobody's taken more flack in Pakistani politics recently than Imran Khan. So with that background out of the way, on to the good news. I'm sure you saw, it's the title of the video. Imran Khan, as far as I know, has been released. He was ordered to be released by the Pakistani Supreme Court. I have no reason to believe that that is to be delayed and that there's any obstruction to that. So I'm pretty sure by the time that this goes up, he should be out. He should be a free man. We should hopefully have video of him, alive and well, and back in his home soon. And the Supreme Court ordered him released because apparently they had no right to detain him. I imagine Pakistan is like the United States. You can arrest someone for a period of time. You can arrest them to question them, as a part of some investigation. But unless you charge them with a crime, you can't hold them indefinitely. You will have to release them from jail. And it looks to be that is what's happened in this case in Pakistan. Now, without the public uprising, if nobody had said anything, if Imran Khan had been arrested and nobody was any the wiser, I doubt he would be being released today. I think it's pretty clear. The reason why he's being released is because they're trying to quell the backlash. Because at least this current government is smart enough to realize that they have forced the public's hand and they pushed too far this time, that they cannot be this aggressive in trying to exert power over the country. Because, as I said a couple days ago, even when I discussed this topic briefly, you destabilize the government of a nuclear power that endangers the entire planet. And so even though they might have only done this because of the immense public pressure, I still want to thank the Pakistani Supreme Court for de-escalating what could have evolved over time into a global nuclear crisis. Because if there's chaos, you never know where things are going. You could have some mobs storm into some nuclear facility, and you could have some crazy guy who knows which buttons to press, who ends up launching nuclear weapons, and that would just trigger mutually assured destruction for the entire planet. Now, this doesn't mean that it's the end, but at the very least, you could look at this as a respite. For those of us in the West, perhaps we won't have to pay as much attention, as close attention to this. Do I think that they're just going to, let Imran Khan go about his business from now on? No, I'm sure they're still going to try and trump up some charges against him. But I guess at least they know now, hey, we can't just arrest him with no charges and disappear him forever. We can't be that ham-fisted about it. We're going to have to trump up some criminal charges and then give him a show trial in which we sentence him to life in prison or 20 years or whatever. Find some crime that they can stick on him and then just get rid of him and make him politically a non-entity. Just like what we're seeing with Trump. They've in the U.S., the deep state has made clear they want to do everything in their power to get Trump. And the best that they could do, apparently, was a records mishandling of records or something like that. What was it to do with the Stormy Daniels thing? He didn't report that he gave $150,000 to Stormy Daniels. That's what they're gonna falsifying business records. That's what it was. So they're gonna try and find something similar on Imran Khan, so that they can lock him in jail or prison and keep him out of politics. So that's my guess as to what's going to happen. I would imagine we'd see something similar in the U.S. happen also to Bobby Kennedy if he were to get too close to the presidency. I'm even hearing rumblings that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, is considering running as a Democrat against Joe Biden and Bobby Kennedy, because I think that the Democrat powers that be recognize Biden's weakness. And I don't think that there's by any means a consensus around putting Bob Iger up to replace him. But I think that there are a lot of Democrats, corporate Democrats, who want someone, because if Biden is as weak as he is and Bobby Kennedy has a chance to really gain a foothold, he might actually win the nomination, and then the corporate Democrats are screwed. Corporate Democrats will be in a worse position if Bobby Kennedy gets nominated than corporate Republicans were in when Trump got nominated, because at least Trump actually wanted to work with the corporate Republicans. Corporate Republicans just had a personal disdain for Trump. That's why they couldn't work with him. But Trump, wanted to be their friend. He was open to corruption. And Bobby Kennedy, however, is a much more of a pure-hearted individual, and I don't think he has any interest in that. And so these sorts of figures around the world, we see it with I was screw up his name, Bukele, or something like that. It's Bukele, I think, in the president of El Salvador, which I believe isn't El Salvador home of MS-13, the most violent gang in the Western Hemisphere. He, I heard today, reported that El Salvador has gone 365 days, an entire year, without any murder. In what should be the murdered capital of the Western Hemisphere, they're home to, I believe, the most violent gang on the American supercontinent. And at least according to this guy, they've gone an entire year without murder. Now, you could say, oh, well, he's lying. It's not true. Well, at the very least, it seems like El Salvador is a much safer place than it was just a couple of years ago. And what does the media say about him? Oh, he's a terrible fascist. They'd like to take him out, too. And then now we've got this guy in Chile who they were able to stop from becoming president. I forget his name. I covered the Chilean presidential election back when it happened, but now they've got this constitutional commission that apparently that his party has won 22 out of the 50 seats on, so right-wingers are going to have an outsized influence over the new constitution, which, the current constitution was written by the Pinochet regime, as a successor to Pinochet's dictatorship. So this was already, I think most people would consider the Chilean constitution to at least have been written by right-wingers. Now it appears that the new Chilean constitution will be written by right-wingers. The left is holding minority of the seats on the Constitutional Commission, only 17 out of 50. And ironically, back in the 70s, back when Pinochet came to power, it was the deep state, it was the CIA who was backing him, who was backing the Chilean right. Today, it seems to be the opposite. The Western status quo, the neoliberals, they are, from everything I've seen, completely opposed to the Chilean right. And the same thing, oddly enough, is true with Brazil. So, just a few years ago, someone like Lula da Silva would have been seen as an anti-establishment force, I think, in the eyes of neoliberals. Today, he's endorsed in his election by Joe Biden. The Biden administration was openly backing Lula in his campaign to unseat Bolsonaro, his political lineage, what does he claim? What was he a big fan of before he was president? What did he think were the good old days? He thought the days of the CIA-backed military junta in Brazil were the good old days. So it's strange the CIA has switched allegiances in Latin America. I guess except for Venezuela. In Venezuela, the left is still synonymous with being anti-CIA and anti-Pentagon. So anyway, I will try and pay attention to the situation in Pakistan. But with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.